What's up, guys? I'm Jack. This is Daisy, maybe.
God's power.
Do your thing, Daisy. Get back here. Thank you. And welcome to another Hades 2 video. So we're back to challenge runs, and this one is right before the big update that happened yesterday at the time of editing. So the gameplay is not current.
Now or never.
Just a heads up. Now, this challenge run, somebody in the comments suggested to me in one of my previous videos was doing a hex-only run, which I'd never thought of, but is actually kind of genius. And this one was actually kind of tough. It took a little while, but it was also a lot of fun, so let's dive right into it. But before we do, let's talk about the sponsor of today's video, me. Please subscribe. Thanks. Anywho, let's go over the rules before we actually start, though. What are the rules? I can only use my hex. And I can only use my hex. What are the other okay damage sources, though? So there are lone shades, you can even see them in the background gameplay right there. If I accidentally run into those, that's totally fine, I'm not going to count that against the run. I ended up taking Tula with me, so if I accidentally run into her and she starts attacking people, I'm not going to stop her from satiating her bloodlust, of course. Though I'm also not going to go out of my way to activate Tula. Lastly, in order to charge our hex more quickly and efficiently, we have to be using an Omega attack. So if my Omega attack accidentally hits an enemy during the run, I'm not going to count that against the run and reset, just because it would be very, very difficult to not accidentally do that. Especially in Tartarus with all the satyrs that spawn the rats. Oof. Yeah. So with all that aside, let's get started. So we start this run by choosing our Arcana, and the main things that we want are, of course, Death Defiances. We want the Furies for extra damage in our casts, because yes, that does affect hexes, and we also want the Arcana that charges up our hex passively. Now, I brought the Moonstone Axe with me as well, because that just gives us some extra health, which is always nice. And we had to reset about 30 times to actually get Selene first, so we could do the whole run with the hex. And, well, I finally got it, and this was my first run attempting this. Now, I actually get really lucky because I get Wolf Howl, and this one is really good because it's ready after only 40 magic, which is extremely fast compared to the other one that's 60 and then 100. Or, sorry, 200 actually, wow. Yeah, so it recharges a lot quicker. And if we want to recharge it even quicker, we of course have to use our Omega attack, and I choose my Omega special for this just because it's easier to not hit enemies with it. But what this hex does is it launches us into the air, where we can then do a giant ground pound, dealing 200 damage with a big area. And how hexes work is you can upgrade them, you just have to keep getting more Selene boons. And there are some cool upgrades for this one, so you can increase the damage, of course, you can decrease the amount of magic it takes for it to fully charge. You can make yourself impervious for a second after using the hex, which is really helpful, and you can also make it so that you can do 2 ground pounds with 1 hex use, which is so nice. But yeah, overall it's not a bad attack, it just takes a little while to charge up. It does deal a very solid amount of damage, especially in the early game. We can basically 2-shot everything. Our problem only arises, in the early game at least, when we run out of mana to charge our special. So we just have to wait for our hex to recharge. So that's fine. A little bit of patience never hurt anyone. Now, I'm also looking for Hestia and Apollo's Duo boon, which will give us constant healing. And in order to do that, I need to get 2 specific Hestia boons and 1 specific Apollo boon before it even has a chance to spawn. So hopefully we will start to get Hestia and Apollo boons throughout this run and get a chance to get that. Regardless of if we get that boon, I'm also looking for anything to increase our max health, because other than that, there's not really much we can do for healing. And healing is very important, especially in longer boss fights such as Kronos, so yeah, I definitely want that Hestia Apollo Duo boon. And since this run took me over an hour to do, I'm gonna start to skip through the rooms a little bit so you guys don't have to watch this monotonous gameplay. From this room, I get some extra max health, bringing our health total to 115, which is pretty good for this early. Again, it's really nice having the axe, which gives us a solid amount of extra health at base. I will say, I've never done any sort of build that focused on hexes, like, at all. I've always used them as an afterthought rather than the main focus of the build, so it was actually very enjoyable to do this. And as you guys saw right there, I accidentally had a trap kill an enemy when I used my charge special, but again, we're not counting that stuff against the run because we're still mainly using our hex. Any accidental damage does not count, but if you want to count it, go for it. I'm just not going to do this run again. So we choose Demeter's room because she has some really good defensive boons, such as one that increases our max health every time we pick up a seed or a plant, and then there's one that gives us a barrier for the start of every encounter, which is also really nice. Again, anything to increase our damage resist or defense, max health, that's what we need. And, well, we don't really get any good boons offered to us at first, so I just choose to reoffer it in hopes that I get something more useful. And from the reoffer, we got Plentiful Forage, the one that gives us plus 5 health every time we pick up a seed. And I also have the shovel equipped, which means that we'll be getting a lot of seeds and plants. Very nice. We also got an Arachne room, which is awesome because she just gives us armor, and armor is great. We also get a seed from the Arachne boon, so we're already up plus 10 health from this one boon, and we're going to be up a lot more because of it. I might keep track of that actually, if I don't forget. I just had caffeine, so like my ADHD is, you know. We go with the Emerald Dress because that restores 2 health every time we exit a location, and it gives us plus 50 armor, which is actually a really good amount. And I go over to the boss room door, and normally I would take Hephaestus because he can get us some armor, but I really want to get Hestia or Apollo, so I reoffered a few times, and well, I actually got Hestia. So that's good. But again, I need 2 specific boons from Hestia, and 1 from Apollo, before we even have a chance to get the duo boon, so we're going to need to get her a couple more times, at the very least. And wow, this hex does not do a lot of damage to this mini-boss. Yeah, this is going to take a while. But as you can see, this is the first time I actually tried using that cast, but he does take extra damage from it when he's in our cast. So after having noticed that, that's basically all I'm going to be doing the rest of the run. So we get a straight 50 extra damage, that's 25% extra damage just from them being in our cast, which is very nice. I do of course eventually beat this guy. He's not too difficult of a mini-boss at all, though I do suck at dodging his attacks. Regardless, as long as we can charge our hex up, it's not that big of a problem. And then his little minions on the sides also are not a problem. It is interesting though how with some bosses you don't have to destroy the minions for the encounter done, but like with this one you do have to destroy them in order for the boss fight to be finished. So, wonder how they decide, you know, which is which. As many have stated in the comments of my Tula only run, Queen Lamia, the Snake Lady in the Fields of Mourning, you don't have to destroy her minions, you only have to destroy her. Whereas right here we clearly do have to destroy the minions, but it's fine. Alright, we finish up this encounter, we grab Hestia, and from her I take the Flame Strike boon. Now this is because it is one of the boons that we need for the duo boon, and it also does not negatively impact our run, like Smoldering would have. I didn't want Smoldering because, well, I don't want my cast to do any extra damage, because then we wouldn't be able to use our cast at all. So we're not going to take any cast damage increasing boons throughout this run. We run into Nemesis and she thoroughly beats us in this match, which causes us to lose 100 coins, which we don't really have that many already. Oh, plus we just found a plant, so 5 extra health. I think that means we're up to 15 extra health from that boon, though I forgot to pay attention. So, you know, if you guys see any other health increases, let me know. Let me know in the comments, and let me know if I'm right. I'll try to pay attention, but we'll see. Nice, another 5 extra health, plus we get a health increase room. That's great. So basically, as long as we get enemies within our cast and then use our Hex, we're doing a good amount of damage. We can one-shot most things in the game. And next up, we get an Apollo room, which is just awesome. I'm not focusing either of the gods, so this is extremely lucky to be getting rooms from both of them. Oh, and I do have Seleni's keepsake on right now. That is to get some extra choices the next time we get a Selene boon. But I end up re-offering Apollo a couple times just because we don't get the boons that we need for the Hestia Apollo duo boon. And eventually we get Lucid Gain, which is good. It gives us a way to regenerate our magic, and it's something that we needed for, the duo boon, so I will definitely take that. Next up, we are going against Hecate, and I'm not too worried about this one. By now, we've learned to dodge her attacks pretty well, and it's really just about waiting for our Hex to recharge so that we can do more attacks. I guess the tricky part is getting her within the cast when we're ready to use our Hex, so we can get that extra damage off, though it really isn't necessary. Especially now that we have a way to regenerate our magic, we're just not at a shortage of hexes. We can start to really spam this build. I did accidentally activate Tula right there, which I am not going to get in her way. We all know what happens when you get in Tula's way, so we're just going to let her satiate her bloodlust and stay far away from her while she is attacking. We do get Hecate down quite a bit, and when she is in our cast while we use our Hex, it does a chunky amount of damage. And the best part about this Hex in particular is it only takes 1 Omega Special to charge up. Other Hexes might take 3 or 2 Omega Specials to charge up before it's ready. This one only takes 1, so I think we got the best possible option for this build. I mean, there are definitely better Hexes. This one is just really efficient. But with one final ground pound, Hecate is dealt with. That wasn't bad at all. Not bad at all. Also, let me know in the comments if you want me to go over the update that happened yesterday. The last time I did that, it didn't do too well, so I wasn't planning on making another update video, but if you guys want to see it, I will. Yeah, just let me know. I grabbed Hestia's Everlasting Ember from our keepsake box so that we get more Hestia boons. Again, we're trying to get that duo boon, so... Oh, this is 25, right? Right? Perhaps I'll go back and double check after I'm done editing, but probably not. Now in Oceanus, a lot of the enemies are a bit chunkier than the previous location, so we're not going to be one-shotting too many enemies in here, unfortunately, but that's alright as long as we are efficient and we use our cast and Hex well, we'll be fine, right? Yeah, even with our Hex plus cast combo, we're basically just two-shotting all these enemies, so this might take a while. I actually haven't done an Underworld run in so long. I've just been doing surface runs for my, which god is best with each aspect. I've done way too many surface runs. Like, way too many. So it's nice to have a change of pace. Now, I did also attempt a random number generator run, where every choice was dictated by a random number generator. And that was a lot of fun. I did end up losing it just because even having a slightly coherent build is better than having one that is completely random with no synergies. So, it wasn't the best build and I ended up losing to Kronos, but I will be giving that another shot at some point in the next few days and hopefully getting that video up as well pretty soon. We grab a Chaos Room, and from that I grab a Trophic Mind, which just gives us plus 50 magic, but we lose some health for a few encounters. I just hadn't grabbed that one for the Fated List of Prophecies, so I just wanted to knock that out. Ooh, another plant, now we're up to plus 30. And we run into Narcissus, and from him, we end up grabbing a Mystery Boon as well as a Mystery Seed, so plus 5 health, and plus another God Boon. Definitely will take that. And from the Mystery Boon, we end up getting Hestia, which is good, we need more of her boons. But unfortunately, we don't get the boon that we need for the Duo Boon. which kind of sucks, but like, it's fine. I end up taking Flame Flourish just so that the other two don't mess up my build and cause some accidental damage to enemies. We get a Selene room next, which is just really nice. I've been wanting to upgrade my Hex for a little while now, so very glad about that. And essentially what I grabbed from this, and I'm not going to show you because it takes me a while to choose, is we have plus 100 power to our Hex, we move 10% faster while our Hex is not charged, and we deal damage in a 50% larger area with our Hex. Oh, and also we take 5 less magic to charge our Hex. We grab a Hera boon that literally does nothing for us, let Tula fish and grab a snack, and then we head down to an Apollo room, which is nice. We could always use more Apollo. I could definitely go for the one that makes our cast a little bit bigger. I'm actually pretty sure this is the room where I got that. These enemies right here though, the sea serpents, I think that's what they're called, they are really annoying to deal with. Luckily now that our Hex deals damage in a larger area, it's a lot easier to hit them, but you know, sometimes it's just really awkward to hit these guys in the water. Obviously we can't land our Hex in the water, so yeah. So now that our Hex deals plus 100 damage, we're up to 300 base damage, and then when enemies are in a cast, that still does 25% extra damage, so 375 damage. We are nearly double our original damage, and 50% larger size, so our Hex is looking pretty strong right now, and we're also great at spamming it. This build is not bad at all. So I was wrong about the Apollo boon that we grabbed. We end up grabbing Blinding Sprint from him instead, which is nice. I usually grab that in most of my challenge runs somehow. It's just a solid boon. It inflicts daze upon enemies when you sprint next to them, and daze just gives them a chance to miss us whenever they attack. And I think it's a 10% chance, though correct me if I'm wrong. I will say though, this Hex is really satisfying to use in groups of enemies. As you saw, we just chunked down all 5 of those guys right there, and then when we accidentally hit the trap, it finished them off. This room actually took forever too. The enemies just wouldn't stop spawning in, but it's fine. You don't even get a good reward from it. We do get a Charon room though, so we can go to the shop and see what we can buy from him. I of course grab a mystery boon, which turned out to be Apollo again. Nice. And we get Supernova. This time we do get the one that increases our cast size, which is very nice. That means we can trap more enemies within our cast and have an easier time using our Hex. So, solid. Now it's time for Scylla and the Sirens, and I mean, I both love and hate this boss fight. I will truly never tire of their music and their songs. It's honestly amazing. Even though I did a 40-minute plus boss fight with Tula with them, you know, their song was still amazing the entire time. And as far as like a boss fight with multiple enemies at once, it's done pretty well. I would say it's a generally pretty fair boss fight. For those of you who have played Elden Ring and have made it most of the way through that game, you may remember the Godskin duo. And for those of you who don't know, it's 2 big bosses with a lot of health who spam attacks. They have both range and close range. They're very fast, their attacks hit extremely hard, and they are considered to be some of the most annoying bosses in the game. Now there are some ways to cheese them, of course, but in general, I would not say that they are a fair or fun multi-boss fight. That one is difficult because it's annoying, they do a lot of damage, they have a lot of health, they keep respawning. Whereas this one, it's not overly difficult to dodge all of their attacks. You really just have to be paying attention, and you can dodge most of them without too many issues. They also don't deal too much damage. And if you focus fire on one of them, you can take them out of commission until the next phase. That is to say, this is a good and fair multi-boss boss fight, whereas something like the Godskin duo is not. So yeah, that's just to say that I really enjoy this boss fight. I think it's really fun, really well done, the music is amazing. Now, it might not be my favorite boss fight in the game, but... Actually, you know what? It is my favorite boss fight in the game, I lied. I love this boss fight. I think it's amazing. Anywho, since our cast and our Hex are both pretty big in size, As long as the bosses are near each other, we can damage multiple at once, causing a good chunk of damage. And by the way, this is always the best way to deal with these bosses. You just try to hit multiple of them at the same time, so it just deals extra damage, you're saving time, it's great. Especially with even more powerful boons and builds, such as the Apollo cast that I always talk about. You can really just melt their health. It also really helps that we can again just recharge our Hex with one use of our Omega Special. Though right here when all these fish spawn, I decided not to use that way to recharge my Hex just because I didn't want to blow them all away with it. So we just let it recharge passively, and then once it's ready, we put our cast down, use our Hex, and that didn't take her out. We have to do another. It did blast most of the fish in the area though, which is pretty nice. We just gotta wait for it to recharge. One more hit and we should be done with this boss fight. Nice. What are we up to now? Plus 35?
Tail seeds.
Plus 40? We're gonna say plus 40. Again, if I'm wrong, let me know at the end of the video, because I keep forgetting to pay attention to all the seeds and the plants that we get for the extra health. I'm also probably gonna start to go through this run a little bit quicker, just because you guys get the point of the build. I will say though, the Fields of Mourning are kind of annoying just because the enemies have a lot of health here, they don't stagger too easily, they have very spammy attacks, so this is more difficult than Oceanus, but it's still not too bad. We do get a little Selene boon right here, and we just choose the one that allows us to use our Hex one more time with each use, so that's really nice. Look at this. Nice. And from Hermes right here, we just grab the one that gives us some extra dodge chance plus 10%. Always nice to have. Now over here I do choose the room with another Selene, as well as some extra health. So yeah, we're actually getting pretty lucky here in terms of rewards at least. Oh shoot, am I down with Death Defiance? Hang on, I gotta rewind and see where I lost that. Yeah, that's right, I lost my first Death Defiance during the Scylla fight. Whoops, I forgot to include that. I don't feel like going back and finding it in the footage, so yeah. Just know that I died once during Scylla. And from that Selene boon, I grabbed plus 20 damage, plus 20% damage to any armor. I grabbed minus 5 magic to recharge our Hex, and also I'm impervious for 1 second after using the Hex, which that part is really nice. That part is really nice. Up here we get the choice between Hestia and Apollo, and I choose Hestia because we do have the Apollo boons that we need for the duo boon, though we are still missing one Hestia boon for that duo boon. Spoilers, we don't get it here. More spoilers, this mini boss is actually pretty tanky, but it is nice that we can spam our Hex even more now, that we can use it twice, so we actually get a lot of damage. 750 damage if he stays in our cast, at least, with both uses of our Hex. Yeah, eventually we did manage to take him out though. Once his minions were dealt with, it's a super easy boss fight. And again, we didn't end up getting the Hestia boon that we needed, so I just grabbed one that wouldn't affect my build negatively. Spontaneous combustion, by the way, if any of you are curious. Our next room choice gives us Apollo, some extra health, and some extra magic, so not bad at all. Hopefully we'll get another Apollo boon that will positively impact our build, though. There aren't too many others that will help us out. Potentially the one that lets us deal backstab damage to enemies who are dazed. I believe that would increase the damage of our Hex as well. So we do end up getting a boon that helps us out from Apollo, and it's the one that gives us some extra damage in each encounter until we take damage, and that's 10%. And yes, that does affect our Hex actually. Turns out most of these damage increase boons will actually affect us. Now, again, if you've watched any of my previous Tula videos, you'll know that there really aren't any ways to increase Tula's damage at all, but with the Hex, I guess every damage increase boon works. Anyway, we got our extra health and magic from this room, and we stopped at the Well of Charon and got our Death Defiance back, so that was nice. We also get Charon's shop up here, and another 5 health, so 45? Yeah. 45. We'll go with that. Time for Cerberus. This is definitely one of my favorite boss fights as well. It might be just on par with Scylla and the Sirens, just because I like the moves of Cerberus better. I think they're more fun to dodge. But, you know, the music of Scylla will always carry that boss fight for me. I think this might be a better designed boss fight in terms of fun factor, but I still like Scylla a lot. I think they're tied. They're definitely tied for me. Now, this build deals some really solid damage with all of the damage increases that we have. We're up to 810 damage from one use of our Hex, which is pretty nice. Now, once we do take our first hit of damage, that is going to go down a little bit, though not by too much. The Apollo boon that we just grabbed is still in effect, which is what's granting us that 10% extra damage, which is really nice. Plus, of course, being able to hit him twice, and then the cast, it's solid. It's solid damage. It also really helps that we're impervious for a second after using our Hex. That has already saved us from taking damage a bunch during this boss fight. But I'll go ahead and skip ahead a bit now, just because you guys get the point. He's already about a third taken care of. We just lost our damage buff. Sad. Now, I did end up getting sniped by this guy, and I lost one of my Death Defiances, so not ideal. But we still got 3 left for Kronos, as long as we don't lose any during Tartarus, so we should be okay. 3 should be enough, hopefully. So I did end up doing a playthrough of Elden Ring as well, and this is with one of the new DLC weapons. It's basically a martial arts kung fu fighting style that you can get, which is really fun. So I did an entire playthrough of the base game of Elden Ring, and that's probably going to be the next video out. Again, I know most of you are here for Hades 2 content, so if you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. That's totally fine, I won't be offended. But if you do want to watch it, I can guarantee you'll have a good time. Plus, it might convince you to pick up Elden Ring, which is one of the greatest games to have ever been created. But with Cerberus taken care of, we are on to Tartarus, and we're almost done with this challenge. It is taking a while. Again, it took over an hour to get all of this footage, which isn't the worst challenge that we've had, but certainly not the best either. I picked up Echo's Concave Stone from our keepsakes and the Yarn of Ariadne just to, give us a nicer boon the next time we grab one. So, hopefully we'll get an extra boon and 2 boons from our next god. Now, I did get a couple comments in my Tula-only surface run where people said that they found the surface more difficult than the underworld, and honestly, that's kind of understandable. Most of the underworld is pretty easy, I would say, up to the Fields of Mourning. And Eris is honestly a pretty difficult boss fight on her own, but I think maybe I've just had a lot of practice with the surface. I've done so many runs, like back to back to back to back to back, which makes it pretty easy for me. And I did beat Kronos before I beat Eris in the surface, so that's also something. Perhaps it is more difficult, and I'm just more used to it. But I think it's just down to personal preference. I personally think that Tartarus on its own is more difficult than any location in the surface, and I personally have a more difficult time nowadays with Kronos than I do for Eris. Though again, that just may be because I have more practice with Eris. God, I'm so excited for the rest of the surface to come out though, that's gonna be sick. I really hope they have a cool boss. I know they will, but I hope it's the most difficult boss they've ever made. And for those of you who may be like, why would you want a difficult boss? You're stupid and that's ridiculous. Get good. No, I'm just kidding. It's completely understandable if you want just like a regular, Hades final boss difficulty level. Especially if you're just here for the story, which is an incredible story, and you just want to continue and beat the game. Like, I get that. The story should be 100% accessible to all players, regardless of skill level. And just use God mode if you're really having that much trouble with it. You can turn that on in the settings. But for me at least, I want to get absolutely destroyed by this upcoming final boss. That might just be because I'm a sadist, but regardless. We run into Hades and we grab the boon that lets us go dark. And I thought that might just give us some extra damage for our Hex occasionally, though to be fair, I never really noticed it. And now I think we're up to 50 extra health from our seeds and plants. That's pretty nice. Now in Tartarus, a lot of these enemies have some pretty high health, so it does take a little while to clear each room. Though with our normal cast plus Hex combo, it's not too bad. Just gotta be a little bit patient about it. We do get an Apollo boss room, which is good. I suppose we really need that Hestia Apollo duo boon, and we still don't have the other Hestia boon that we need, so not looking good. Not looking good. This boss went down relatively easily. Once we took out his armor, he really doesn't have too much health, so yeah. Not bad at all. And from our good buddy Apollo, we get the backstab damage. It's called Backburner, 75% extra damage whenever we hit enemies who are dazed from behind. And yes, that does apply to our Hex as well, so we get a massive damage increase from that. And again, with the sprint, we inflict daze whenever we sprint near enemies. So, honestly, not a bad build right there. Look at that, 600 damage. That's crazy. This video is getting pretty long as is, so I'm just going to show you guys the rewards I get from the next couple of rooms. We get an extra big palm of power, and I use that to upgrade my sprint speed to plus 35%. Super nice. Next room we get is a hammer, and from the hammer I get a boon that allows us to cast our special even quicker, which is also really nice for this build. After a couple more rooms, we make our way to Charon's shop. I grab an Apollo boon, which unfortunately means we don't get the Apollo Hestia duo boon, and we can't regenerate any health during this fight. We also don't get anything helpful from Apollo right here. And I also end up grabbing this super big palm of power, and from that, I just increase our no-hit bonus damage from 10% to 17%, and I grab 40 armor. Now, we did lose another Death Defiance, so we're down to 2 Death Defiances, 30-something health, and 40 armor. So it's not looking great right now, not gonna lie. Plus, I probably should have grabbed either of the other boons from Hades to either give Kronos minus 20% health at the start of the fight, or less reinforcements. Both of those would have been really helpful. Grabbing the going dark and dealing extra damage boon was not a great idea from Hades, but it's fine. Now with Kronos, we don't chunk him down nearly as efficiently as we do with the other couple bosses that we just fought, but once we get that backstab damage off of him, 575 damage is not a little amount. I wouldn't say this build surprised me with how good it is. It's about as good as I thought it was going to be, which is to say it's decent. Hexes are fun, and I think they add a nice gameplay element, but I wouldn't rely on them. I would much rather have a weapon-focused build, or a cast-focused build. There are just so many more ways to buff your attack or special or cast than there are with your Hex, so that's probably why. It is nice that we deal damage in such a large area, because when Kronos does summon reinforcements, or the little time banner things, we can just take them out really quickly and easily. Now, Kronos' attacks deal so much damage, which means he eats through my armor very quickly, and leaves us with only 6 health in the first phase. Now, this also very quickly leads to me losing another Death Defiance, which means we only have 1 Death Defiance left for the second phase of the fight. And since it's a Tula Death Defiance, we don't even regen half of our health. Which basically means that we only have a total of 160 health to last us the rest of this fight, as Tula only restores 40 health upon death. So yeah, this is going to be a tight one. It's going to be close, that's for sure. But again, getting that backstab damage off is so helpful. Being able to smash him with 600 damage, and then being impervious for a second afterwards, is so nice. This is a really good Hex build as far as Hexes go. And with that, we are done with phase 1 of the fight, leaving us with 95 health plus the extra 40 from Tula, so 135 health to take out the entirety of phase 2 of Kronos. And I'll be honest, I was not super confident about that. But we're just gonna have to try our hardest and try to make this work. Surely we won't lose, right? After all, we are the protagonist of this story. Right? Right? Oh god. I could just be making this up, but it seems like Kronos has less health in Phase 2. Does anybody know the numbers by chance? I'm a little bit curious about that one. It just always seems to go by a little bit quicker than Phase 1, or he takes more damage during Phase 2 than Phase 1. I'm not sure. But yeah, let me know if you guys know. I mean, he's already about a third taken care of, and we've only lost 25 health. That's not too bad. He definitely has less health in Phase 2. I mean, look at how much we chunked him down with those 2 attacks. Well, I think I've done quite enough commentary for this run right now, so I will let you guys enjoy the rest of the Kronos fight without my annoying voice in the background.
For Charon.
Numbers are so high in this run compared to some of the others. That's because, well, I decided to take every single side path I possibly could in Tartarus, which means we get to fight more enemies, which means more damage. Whereas, like, in the Tula only run, I only did the quickest route through Tartarus, which means that Tula did not do nearly as much damage as the Wolf Howl in this run. Anyway, regardless, if you guys like this sort of content, please subscribe. It helps me out. If not, that's totally fine. Your viewership is quite enough for me. Thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have a good one. Hopefully I will see you in the next one. Peace.